Well, I suppose what was really a joy about this production, as opposed to many other films that we've all worked on, is that it was not prescriptive. You were never approaching archives or never going to archive researchers saying, I want this specific shot. You know, it was very much from the beginning, from the origin of the idea, reaching out and a collaboration. Give us your ideas, you know, drawing on your local knowledge, your local expertise to kind of create this worldwide sort of research project. And that set it apart, you know, almost immediately for me in terms of, you know, an archive research project.
Yeah, I mean, I think everything's a surprise. And I think, as Claire said, the entire approach here was not to be prescriptive. So that element of surprise was not surprising. You know what I mean? The fact that we were surprised was not surprising, because the whole thing was to be surprised. You know, there's a real sense of wonder that's built into the film. You know, the sense of, I find a sense of wonder when I look at the moon, and I'm curious. The whole starting point for the project was, I was curious, is this wonder a universal thing? You know, is the symbol of the moon, you know, as diverse as I think it is? So, you know, approaching people within the archive community and asking them, what do you find wonderful about it? And wanting to be surprised then by the material, and by the material that came back. And being surprised, absolutely, you know, whether it was material that came from Estonia or from the history of Indian cinema. It's a process of that curiosity being informed then by what comes back, and being constantly surprised, but in a really beautiful way. So I think that sense of surprise was fundamental to the project. Like, I had a kind of a structure for the film from the very beginning, which is, you know, built around a cycle of the moon. So there were chapters within the film that were, so it was broken down into each phase of the moon, and then each phase of the moon was connected to a particular theme. But that's very loose. So when you sit down and you start gathering material, you want to explore, let's say, the supernatural or death or rebirth. You're totally being informed by the material that comes to you, and the associations then that it leads to. You know, like, there was a beautiful clip from the Latvian archive of a stork flying down from a nest, you know what I mean, which doesn't have anything to do with the moon. But it was relating to this idea of rebirth and the association of the stork and babies and that kind of thing. But even just the flight of the stork then, and where that took us within the frame, led me to the next shot. So I then started looking for something that associates with that. And then at a certain point within other sections, you would approach an archive maybe and ask if they have something that aligns with a certain idea that has evolved in the edit. So it's entirely an iterative thing. You know, you're constantly responding to the material and having new ideas, and then getting material for that new idea. So it's a dialogue. You know, it's a dialogue between me, I think, in the edit, and the material. And it's very much a two-way thing all the way through to the end.